Hi everyone, it's Katie Hagen, the North Carolina Zoo's Animal Commissary Supervisor. I'll be taking your questions on our animal nutrition program and anything related to what it takes to feed the 1,600 plus animals in our care. What would you like to know? Hey everyone, it's Katie Hagen, Animal Commissary Supervisor at North Carolina Zoo. I'm back to answer your questions. So here we go. So the commissary is located in an area of the park called Service Support. It's actually behind the Africa portion of the park, and it's where a lot of the zoo operations departments are based out of. My favorite diet to prepare is probably the Primate Diets. I think that's because it's kind of a workout. Weighing out and packing up hundreds of pounds of produce for gorillas, chimps, baboons. It's fun. There's really nothing in the commissary that I dislike preparing, whether it's blood or live bugs or frozen fish, rodents, raw meat. If it's going to benefit the animal, I'm happy to supply it and work with it. Generally speaking, it can be most difficult to recreate diets for those animals that rely only on one food source. So for us, a good example is the vampire bats. Top 3 weirdest things. I guess the blood. I've already talked about it a little bit, but the blood's kind of weird. Bones, maybe. We bring in a lot of beef bones, ribs, femurs, knuckles. Many of our carnivores get fast days where they're offered a bone in place of part of their meal. And the last thing, I guess, is gut loading diets. The gut loading diet is what you're going to feed to the feeder invertebrates that are then going to be eaten by a small mammal or bird or reptile. So essentially you're feeding that bug a really healthy meal so that it imparts a certain nutrition. While all of our natural habitats do provide plenty of opportunity for our animals to forage, browse, graze, we provide 100% of their daily caloric needs through the food purchases that we make. So the most difficult food item to get can oftentimes be some of the fish species that we're looking to feed out. Fisheries can be subject to years of low productivity or no productivity, in which case we have to adjust our diets. And the most unusual food item, I don't stock it now, but I once had to buy something called frog sausages, which is exactly what it sounds like. And it did not go over well with our toad specialist, the eastern hognose. The most common food item, everybody loves a head of lettuce. Lettuce, greens, that's what we go through the most of. The ocelots and all of our cats on park eat a raw meat diet that's formulated for felines. They also eat fish and mice, and being small cats, they eat just under a pound of food a day. And our 7 gorillas go through 100 pounds of produce a day. The keepers scatter it throughout the habitat a few times a day so that everyone can get their fair share. Of course, Masuba, the silverback, eats the most. A polar bear's diet depends entirely on the season and also the size of the bear. Our female polar bear, Anana, right now she's eating 12 to 13 pounds of food a day, whereas Nikita, the male, who is twice her size, is eating over 40 pounds. The snakes are fed whole prey, and depending on the species, that could mean fish or mice, rats, chickens, rabbits. We don't have hippos at the North Carolina Zoo, but it's my understanding that much like the other terrestrial megafauna we're all familiar with, elephants, rhinos, hippos also are herbivorous and eat lots and lots of grass. They actually The award for highest daily caloric intake goes to elephants. It takes a lot of plant material to fuel an animal that big. I would have to poll all of the keepers to truly find out who the pickiest eater is, but I have heard that Anana, our female polar bear, is quite finicky. You could probably guess, but based on the sheer volume of food they require, the African elephants are the most expensive animals to feed. I also supervise the Streamside Habitat Complex in North America, so on the days that I work there, I get to feed those guys. I heart primitive fishes, so my favorite animal is the sturgeon. I've worked with Atlantic sturgeon and short-nosed sturgeon. In college, I studied biology and environmental science, and my favorite part of this job is being a piece in the puzzle of providing optimal nutrition to all of the animals here at the zoo. So I am not a nutritionist. My background is purely in animal husbandry. But if you are looking to find out more about that field, I would recommend seeking out undergraduate and graduate programs in the animal sciences, and also gaining experiences in zoos to help you understand the unique challenges and mostly opportunities that we have in caring for animals in a zoo setting. If I wanted a snack from the commissary, I would probably go after some of the tropical fruits that the birds in our aviary eat. Nutrition is a foundation of animal care, so the most rewarding part of my job is knowing that I am contributing to the health of every animal at the zoo. Thank you for all the great questions, and please come back and check us out next week as we continue our Ask an Expert series here on Instagram.